Hey everyone, how's it going? Exeggutor is a Pokemon that has so much going for it, and yet I feel is going to struggle mightily in this run. It actually is tied for the 9th highest base stat average in Generation 1, with an extremely high special stat, tied for 4th highest in the entire game. It's also a Psychic type. Psychic tends to be extremely overpowered in Generation 1, and yet it probably is going to suck. Why? Its move pool is one of the worst move pools I've seen in a while that still has really good moves. Right off the bat, you see that Exeggutor only learns 3 moves via level up: Barrage, Hypnosis, which is kind of useful, and Stomp, which it doesn't get till later on. So that means we're going to have to beat Brock with Barrage and Hypnosis. And remember, Brock has full heals, so Hypnosis is not just an auto win. In terms of the good moves, it's really just Psychic. Mega Drain's okay, but base 40 power isn't that great. No badge boosting move, and very bad base speed. I do not have high hopes for Exeggutor. As I always say though, there's only one way to find out if this is true. But first, I want to thank you guys so much. Due to your amazing support, I was able to get my very own place for the first time. But when I moved in, I realized I didn't know the first thing about making food, cooking, and I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat I was. Well, thanks to today's sponsor, HelloFresh, that's made a whole lot easier. Now, if you don't drive, don't worry, HelloFresh will deliver recipes right to your door. And unlike all the fast food I eat, HelloFresh offers healthy, low-calorie, chef-created recipes which are really easy to make, 15 minutes or less. With all the time I spend on videos, a service like HelloFresh is really helpful for someone like me. Click the link in the description or use my code and get free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while the subscription is active. So scan the QR code, click the link in the description or in the pinned comment, and I hope you enjoy. But you know what I'm not going to enjoy? Having to face Brock. This was truly terrible. Like really terrible. Something else you should know about Exeggutor, which I can show off in this fight, is that it's in the slow level up group. Well, I guess I can't show it off in the fight, but I can tell you. And I did battle every single trainer that I could. And I'm still level 9. Because you level up slowly. Now, the reason Exeggutor levels up slowly is because it has the 9th highest base stats. And if you look at Pokemon in the slow level up group, that's what they use to determine it, which is really smart. Unfortunately, Exeggutor doesn't really have great initial moves, nor would Execute, by the way. And so this is just a truly miserable experience. It takes forever. And funny enough, the biggest problem isn't even fainting. It's running out of moves. And then you use Struggle and you just don't have enough HP left to defeat Onix. So you basically want either Barrage to do 2 or a bunch of crits, or to have so much HP that you can just use Struggle when you need to. This took me about 13 minutes to do, and it wasn't just battling Brock over and over. You can see him at level 13, but again, slow level up group. We should also bring up the fact that Barrage is not 100% accurate. It misses a fair bit, and it also doesn't do all that much damage to the Metapod and Caterpie. So leveling up with Exeggutor is brutal, but it gets worse. Oh boy, does it get worse, because even once we defeat Brock, we still have to use Barrage until Celadon. Exeggutor doesn't even get Body Slam. There is not a single better move we get than Barrage unless we somehow hit nearly level 30, which we won't. And that's just awful, and it really made this run extremely tedious because every single battle took forever. Anyway, we beat Brock. Hooray. One of the battles that genuinely went really well was Misty. And this is where Hypnosis is going to be a little bit more useful because although it takes a while to hit, Misty doesn't have full heals like Brock. The X defense made this really annoying because Barrage did like nothing, but Hypnosis lasted such a long time, and since Misty has what's called good AI, she can't use Bubble Beam, which probably would have done more than Tackle. Maybe it wouldn't have. Either way, both attacks do virtually nothing to Exeggutor, so that was a fairly easy win. Rival 2, on the other hand, could be really annoying because one sand attack will make Exeggutor the worst Pokemon in existence. Thankfully, it goes for Gust, and we put it to sleep, and it stays asleep. And at this point, I'm pretty sure the battle is over. Abra, we get a crit, which is nice. Rattata, it needs 2 barrages. One other annoying thing, actually, let me win the battle first, and then I'll tell you. So, okay, Scratch. All right, great, we won the battle. So one other annoying thing that's about to happen is because Barrage only has 20 power points and it does nothing, I have to go back and heal, which is what I'm doing right now, over and over and over again. And this is a good time to mention, people always ask which videos I like making or don't. It's sometimes hard to tell from the videos how annoying something was to do, and Exeggutor was on like a 10 of the annoying scale, because it had all the things I hate. There wasn't a lot of creativity at the beginning because I only have Barrage. I had to do the same thing over and over. Every battle took like 10 years. I just wanted this run to end. I was just so annoyed, so frustrated. These ones actually annoy me more than something like Magikarp, because at least Magikarp I have the satisfaction of beating the game with a Magikarp, or Caterpie. Exeggutor is supposed to be really good, and yet it's really not doing great, at least in terms of time, because although it is getting first try victories, every random trainer battle takes like 20 years, and it's gonna continue. But I don't show those off in those videos because they're relatively easy. I do show off things like Rival 3. I also would like to point out that in terms of real time, Mewtwo had already beaten Giovanni at this point. I don't have the words to express to you how long everything took. Anyway, I forgot to heal in my first battle, and you can already see another problem. Typically, I don't like to go to the Pokemon Center because in Red and Blue only, you can dig out of the Pokemon fan club and get right back to Cerulean. Of course, because you use so many barrages, I'm out, and although I actually could have won on limited HP, I wasn't able to. Although actually I wouldn't have because I got burned, but I do pick up an ether for safety outside of Bill's house, so I can use the potions in the ether, which for the record I've already used. That's why I only have 10 power points of barrage. So a lot of this battle is going to be determined by how many hits. We want 3, 4 hits and no misses, lots of crits. And it actually looked like I was just going to lose. I really did think I was going to lose here. And in the end, I actually have to use up all my hypnosises. I get lucky that Charmeleon stays asleep, and I use Struggle to finish off Charmeleon. Now, that's great. We did beat Rival 3, but because I'm out of ethers, there are no elixirs, this is probably going to render Giovanni impossible, because I simply won't have enough HP for all the recoil damage I would take back from Struggle. I take back half the damage I deal. I don't think it's mathematically possible, even if I don't get hit, for me to win. There's no harm in at least trying once, but even at full HP, I get hit by Tackle, Screech misses, and it's going to be a 3-shot. So I'm at 52. That's going to lead me to Pikachu. It's not a 1-shot. Growl kind of sucks. So I've taken a little bit of damage here, but you're going to see, even with the crit and then Growl, Raichu has only hit me once. Maybe if I never got hit a single time, it was theoretically possible, but come on. We barely took any damage and we still lost. So what we're going to do is what I talked about earlier. We're going to talk to the chairman, get the bike voucher, and dig back to Cerulean. The next time we face Lieutenant Surge, we will have TM29, Psychic. Well, we won't have it, we'll have used it. And things are looking great until we get to Rock Tunnel, where we get the famous hiker. And if I sound exasperated and annoyed, good. I'm glad I sound that way. That's how I felt. I know there are going to be people in the comments saying, J-Rose, you're burnt out. J-Rose, are you going to finish? Listen, no really cool task worth doing isn't going to have tedious and annoying components to it. You think I enjoyed when I was 13 years old and trying to play hockey for the very first time on skates, like doing basic skating exercises or pushing my skates from side to side so I could move? No, it sucked and I hated it and I was annoyed. But I knew if I did that, I would finally be able to play goalie, and that was what I wanted. Similarly, I know if I get through Pokemon like Exeggutor that I knew were going to suck going in, I'll be able to beat the game with all 151 Pokemon, and that's something I really want to do. Not every single moment of the runs are going to be fun. Not every video is going to be a joy to make, but it's part of the process. There's always going to be the tedious middle part of a challenge, whether it be Pokemon, sports, reading a book. Well, actually, books shouldn't be annoying. If your book sucks, you should probably just read a new book. But you know what I'm saying. It is what it is. And with what this battle was, essentially either no self-destructs or the 2 Geodude and then no self-destruct from Graveler, this took an absurdly long time. Like an absurdly long time to get right. I'll show you the winning battle, not that it matters. Although it took longer, the easiest way to ensure victory is just to put them to sleep and use Barrage, which actually is kind of how I won. The second Geodude used self-destruct, and then Graveler is able to put to sleep and just barrage away. And while this process sucked, and it took almost 10 real minutes for me to get a win finally, so we're already way past the time Mewtwo already had beaten the game, about 8 minutes past that, you should know not all about this was bad. I'm watching through Star Trek Voyager right now, a show I really like, and there's some really awful episodes that I usually skip, but I wanted to watch through every single one for the first time in like 13 years, and doing this challenge gave me an excuse to kind of have that on in the background. And this brings me to another life lesson I've learned through these challenges. Even the most annoying, tedious things, there are ways to make it a little bit better, and watching a terrible episode of a great show while doing a tedious challenge shockingly made the combined experience not as bad. And speaking of not as bad, we're gonna get Psychic. And that's going to make this run way less bad. I'm over an hour into this challenge, and finally we're going to get the 3rd gym badge. And you'll notice, even at level 27, Voltorb outsped me, and so does Raichu. Exeggutor's terrible speed, and the fact it's only at level 27 is really coming into play. It wasn't just 3 Psychics, 3 knockouts. There was more to it than that. Now that I've beaten Surge, I can use Fly and fly back to Celadon, and then either Erica or Giovanni would be fine, but I wanted to go and defeat Erica first. I'm not going to battle any extra trainers. I'm really hoping that with my really good base stats with Psychic, hopefully that was the start of this run getting a lot better. Unfortunately, Erica proved to be a lot like Surge, easy, but not necessarily without annoying components. For one, had Victreebel not missed with Poison Powder, I would have been hit by both Wrap and Poison damage, and it likely would have won. So I got pretty lucky here. I probably should have gone to battle Giovanni and the Team Rocket hideout first. I did want Mega Drain though, since it's a great way to gain HP back, and I don't have to use as many potions, in theory. But in practice, this was a mistake, and if I were to do a reroute, I probably would do Erica not just later, but a lot later, because I'd want to make sure that I definitely outsped her Victreebel and didn't have to rely on a roughly 25% chance for Poison Powder to miss. But unlike in some of my videos, I just accepted the victory and moved on. Finally, the regular battles are going pretty quickly, and Giovanni 2 was okay. However, once again, Psychic did not one-shot Kangaskhan. And so we have yet to have a battle of one-shots. And when you're using a Pokemon like, I don't know, Pidgey or something, sure, that makes sense. But when you're using Exeggutor with its high base stats and its high special, you're expecting the good old Count Von Count to start counting the number of one-shots. And we haven't had a single battle where that's been the case, at least not yet. After doing some shopping, I go to battle Rival 4, and this is not going to be 5 one-shots, I can tell you that right now, because Execute, we get a lucky flinch there. It's not going to be one-shot, nor will the level 22 Gyarados. Kadabra will be by Stomp, and thanks to Psychic, we do one-shot Charmeleon, which is the last time that will be easy. Charizard will probably be a little bit more difficult going forward. And with Psychic, the Ghost won't be too bad, so we can pick this up again in Fuchsia City. With Psychic, hopefully Koga won't be too bad, but we're going to be under-leveled, and again, we're not very fast. So this might be a little more tricky than I think it's going to be. Koga leads with Coughing, and the Coughing is 3 levels higher. I don't care if I heal, because if this goes the way I hope it does, we're going to one-shot everything, and Wheezing only has one opportunity to use Sludge. It goes for X attack, and we get really kind of lucky with X attack and Smog. Had it used Sludge, or Self-Destruct, we wouldn't have first try victoried, but once again, close to 4 one-shots, but still one Pokemon doesn't get one-shot. We may go this entire run without a single major battle of just one-shot after one-shot. Actually, there's one battle, I'm thinking a couple, where it probably will be, but it is shocking how Exeggutor is really not acting the way most other Psychic Pokemon do, where they just completely tear through the game. And I think it's not because of its stats, obviously, it's its slow level up group. The fact that it's always under-leveled, level has just as much, if not more, to do with damage calculation than stats do. Many Pokemon would be over-leveled by this point, but we're severely under-leveled as Exeggutor. Rival Fievel is going to be interesting. He leads with Pidgeot. Wing Attack is a super effective move, and we get a crit. We don't actually get many of those. We then have to rely on Stomp, which is bad because Execute could status us, so I have to put it to sleep. It takes several hits to knock it out. Gyarados goes for Leer, which is going to speed me up a little bit, which is weird Gen 1 thing. Thankfully, Alakazam decides to go for Disable, so I can put it to sleep, knock it out, and Charizard is still stuck with Ember. This is the last battle where that's the case, and it's part of the reason this was a first try victory. Now, I am almost positive that this Giovanni battle will just be 4 one-shots. If not, that's going to be something. Alright, moment of truth. There's no way Psychic doesn't one-shot Nidorino. Next, we have Kangaskhan. And, okay, we got the one-shot. That one was a little questionable. Rhyhorn, no question. And I'm gonna hope the crit didn't matter, but it was 4 one-shots. I'm hoping that was always going to be 4 one-shots, but yay, the streak is over. So after we pick up the rare candy on floor 10, we then can either go battle Blaine, which is going to be very tough for our grass Pokemon Exeggutor, or battle Sabrina, who actually will be kind of easy because of the weird way Sabrina's AI works when it's battling a Psychic Pokemon. So Sabrina's going to lead with Kadabra, and we did get Double Edge from the 3rd floor, or the 3rd basement floor, I guess, of the Rocket Hideout. It's not going to one-shot Mr. Mime, but we do use Mega Drain to gain a little bit of HP back. Unfortunately, Venomoth, which isn't a Psychic Pokemon, goes for Poison Powder, and this is going to lead to a slight issue. Thankfully, we do enough with Double Edge that even with the poison damage, we're able to knock out Alakazam that consistently goes for Recover because of the way that it's programmed. I'm not really sure why this Alakazam does that, but no other Alakazams do. Either way, as predicted, it was an easy first try victory, but the easy battles are about to end because Blaine is super obnoxious to face with a slow Pokemon weak to fire moves. Why? I'll show you. The first Pokemon, Growlithe, isn't that bad. We can just go for Psychic and it one-shots. Ponyta is where we start to get a problem. It misses with Fire Spin, but Rapidash doesn't. Fire Spin in Gen 1 is one of the cheapest moves of all time if the opponent outspeeds. I just won't be able to attack. Now, there's a 30% chance it misses, but I mean, even though it missed twice in a row, I'm down to 11, now 15 HP, and I do try to put Arcanine to sleep, and I could have theoretically won, but this is very, very annoying, and the options you have, it doesn't even one-shot Growlithe consistently. The options you have, especially when you consider the fact that Ponyta can outspeed you as well. Level up, you can get Mimic for agility, or you could just try to get super lucky. None of those are great options. They all really, really, really stink. And of course, if it crits, just so you know, every single hit crits. I wanted to hold off on Mimic and see if I just used the rare candies here, would that make the difference? And the answer was, well, kind of. All we would need is a miss from Rapidash early enough, and then it's not an auto victory because we need enough HP to be able to potentially tank a Fire Blast from Arcanine. This was a first try victory at level 50, but there's going to be a cost here. Now that we've used the rare candies here, that may end up costing us a level or two. And since we level up so slowly, a level or two might end up being significant for the Elite Four. I hope it won't be. Blaine was really, really tough, but thankfully, Giovanni number 3, like his predecessor, might end up being the first gym leader where we can one-shot every single one of his Pokemon. Although, it may not be a pure sweep because Dugtrio might outspeed me. Let's see. Alright, so Rhyhorn is first. We go for Psychic, Mega Drain, doesn't matter, I use Mega Drain. 1 down. Dugtrio goes for Growl. So we're gonna probably end up damageless, since Growl is gonna boost our special, but not the purest of sweeps. Unsurprisingly, Exeggutor can't outspeed a Dugtrio, even with all this stat experience. So as we save in front of Rival 6, you can see we're at 442. Even if the run ended right now, which it usually lasts about 20-25 minutes longer in the best case scenario, this run would still be below average. But we have to get through these next 6 fights without needing to level up or adjust strategy. Let's see if that can happen. Well, the first Pokemon is Pidgeot, but we can put it to sleep and go for Psychic, and that's a 2-shot. I use Double Edge to finish it off. Mega Drain then gets my HP back. Execute, I go for Double Edge, and it goes for Poison Powder, so I should probably put it to sleep. Gyarados, I go for Psychic. It goes for Bite. Psychic again. Now Alakazam, I go for Double Edge. It might do the recover thing, and it does, so I'm at 58 HP, and now I have to put it to sleep, but Charizard outspeeds and goes for Flamethrower, which is exactly what I was worried about. It actually took a really long time for me to get a win here, just because Hypnosis is so inaccurate. Only 60% accuracy. And because of that, and because it's pretty much necessary to get versus Charizard, if I didn't get it, it was just a reset. Or I could try, but it practically was a reset. Anywho, this time, they're going okay. Gyarados goes for Leer, which might let me outspeed Charizard, unlikely. This time I put Alakazam to sleep. That means I don't have to use as many Double Edges, and that means I have more HP. I get burned, which is annoying, but I do put Charizard to sleep, and it's a 2-shot, although it wakes up. Thankfully, late enough that I get the win. So that's a bad sign that it took so many attempts. I got a little unlucky, but when you're relying on Hypnosis, bad luck is not bad luck. It's just average luck. And this is a key distinction. Some runs you're just hoping for good luck. Some runs, I just get cursed with bad luck. This is a run I'm praying for good luck, and when you pray for good luck, unfortunately, in Pokemon Red and Blue, those typically will go unanswered, and that's exactly what would happen versus the Elite Four. With the exception of Bruno, no one was free. Lorelie has Ice-type Pokemon. This would be worse in Yellow, where they have Ice Beam, and I get pretty lucky, so you think I'm going to win here, but unfortunately, where things would go awry is Jinx. Jinx isn't water type, so I can't just use Mega Drain. It also has very good special. But then Lapras came out, went for Blizzard, and if I hit with Hypnosis, I could have won, but you can already see this is going to be pretty annoying. In my next attempt, I do end up getting the win, but this strategy proved to be way too inconsistent, which is why I'm not really going to go into it. I could think of a much more consistent strategy that would work pretty much every time, but right now I didn't want to use any TMs, so I make it to Bruno where, well, I wanted a pure sweep. Finally, we get one. We one-shot Onix, and we actually don't outspeed Hitmonlee. I thought we would. My bad. We are still going to sweep through Bruno pretty easily, and here's where we get to something interesting. We have a good matchup versus Agatha because we use Psychic, but we're slow. That means Agatha's Pokemon still have a chance to damage us, and although in theory Mega Drain could gain back HP, because all our Pokemon are Poison type, that's just not going to happen. So pretty much in this battle, we're just going to hope for Psychic to hit, and while we get confused both by the Haunter and eventually by the second Gengar, and we even get poisoned, we were able to win, but you can tell this one's not going to be super consistent. What I'm a little more nervous about is Lance, because Lance has everything I'm nervous about, so why not just show the battle, and then you can see why Lance might be a nightmare. we actually outspeed Gyarados, which is really good. And it goes for Leer, which is kind of good, but there's also a problem where we might get one-shot by Hyper Beam. Psychic is one-shotting both Dragonair, but then Aerodactyl comes out, it goes for Hyper Beam, we don't get one-shot, and I go for Psychic. Dragonite I should outspeed, but I actually don't, and because of the Leer, Slam knocks me out. And that's one run down the toilet. Obviously, with a fully evolved Pokemon, you know I'm going to win eventually. It took an hour before that happened. So I'm going to go through why it took so darn long. But first, what was a better strategy to use versus Lorelee? Some of you probably anticipated this, but in case you didn't, I'll show it off anyway. Putting Dewgong to sleep makes things a little more consistent, but I wouldn't do that going forward. All this comes down to just mimicking Amnesia. Slowbro can't do anything to damage me. Its only damaging move is Water Gun. So what I can do is get, as it turns out, I should have used 3 Amnesias to one-shot Jinx. That's okay. But I easily do one-shot Lapras with just 2. This particular run would lose to Agatha, and the next one made it back to Lance. And I did have a new strategy. So what I plan to do is put Dragonair to sleep, which didn't happen this time, but the goal is to mimic Agility. Why? Well, if I mimic Agility, I'm a little stronger due to Badge Boost glitch, but more importantly, I just outspeed Aerodactyl. Unfortunately, I didn't do as much as I thought I would with Mega Drain. It is just normal effective, but I thought its special would be pretty low. And it's still a 2-shot with Psychic. Scratch that, a 3-shot with Psychic unless you get a critical hit. And as it turns out, Dragonite didn't even need a critical hit, and it knocked me out with Hyper Beam, so I had to do this all over again. So this strategy would have worked super great if I didn't level up, but I did, so I might have to manage my experience points a little bit better. Something that is a weird thing to do, but because the Badge Boost glitch is cancelled via level up, you can't level up in the middle of fights where you want to exploit it. It took 2 more losses versus Lance until I got a win, and you can see I'm at a higher level now, so I am trying to manipulate my experience points, make sure I don't level up, so I can fully take advantage of these badge boosts I'm getting from Agility, which is making all my stats just a little bit better. By now, it's probably about 50% better because they stack. Anyway, you can see with Hypnosis how frustrating it is. You might wonder why I'm using it. I'm just going to go for Mega Drain and try to gain a little bit of HP back. Of course, that only really works if Hypnosis and Sleep turns cooperate. When they don't, it doesn't work so great, but over the 2 Dragonair it worked fine, and because I have Badge Boost glitch active, I do way more to Aerodactyl and one-shot it, and Dragonite doesn't do as much to me, so we've made it all the way to the champion, and this is where the run just completely fell apart. Just completely and totally fell apart, and it's really, really frustrating, and you'll see why. So, Pidgeot goes for Wing Attack. That's a 1 in 3 chance. It is Sky Attack, Mirror Move, Wing Attack are all flying moves. It's asleep. I'm going to go for Psychic, and then another Psychic. That's fine. We level up. That's good. Alakazam goes for Psychic. It gets a crit, but no special drop. It wakes up right away. I do want to gain back HP here, but realistically, my real reason for using Mega Drain is just I don't want to run out of Psychic power points. It wakes up, but thankfully I'm able to knock it out with 110. Mega Drain will one-shot Rhydon, and I gain back all my HP. Exeggutor is very annoying. It has Hypnosis, Stomp, and Barrage. And of course, even though I land the first 2 Hypnosises, it wakes up on the very first turn, which is really irritating. Now I really want a special drop, and I get one. Of course, it wakes up, it goes for Stomp. I miss, it goes for Stomp. I miss, it goes for Barrage. So I'm back down to 89 HP. I go for Psychic again, it stays asleep. I try to get some health back with Mega Drain, trying to get as much health as I can for Charizard, and I'm at 120 entering Gyarados. It goes for Dragon Rage, I go for Mega Drain, it just doesn't do enough. Leer, I put it to sleep, and now I'm going to mimic Hydro Pump. Great. So I go for Mega Drain, 125. I go for Psychic, it survives on just a little HP. And now, do I tank a Fire Blast? I level up, so there's no Badge Boost glitch active. It goes for Fire Blast, and I misclicked. I probably would have won, but you can see I pressed, just to replay it, AJ, if you can. What happened here is I pressed down one too many times, and instead of going to Hydro Pump, This happens sometimes when you play at increased speed. Sure, it allows me to make these videos faster, but as I learned as a kid playing Pokemon Stadium 2's Dodrio mode, sometimes the inputs are a little wonky and you get phantom inputs, or you think you've pressed it once, or you press it because it didn't register and then it does twice. These are things that can happen, and sometimes it's just user error, but that's why so many misclicks happen, and I would have won there and then. Unfortunately, getting back to this point proved unbelievably irritating. Besides losing to Lance and Agatha, here's what typically happened. Charizard, rather than going for Fire Blast, would go for Fire Spin. And remember, we talked about Fire Spin. Unless it misses, we're just done. And in this case, we went from full HP to 0 HP. So unless you outspeed, it's over. And we don't even know if we one-shot. And unfortunately, outspeeding would require so much leveling up, we'd be probably talking about another hour of in-game time to outspeed Charizard without badge boosts, which we don't have. We can get hit by Leer and Tail Whip from Rhydon and Leer from Gyarados, but those are really just luck-based. It's 1 in 4 chance of that, and Rhydon we'd have to intentionally delay knocking it out. I lost to Red 6 more times before this battle, and you can see I have leveled up a little bit. There are a couple reasons for this, and the way I do that is both by battling some drainers and getting the additional rare candy located in the power plant, but the strategies are somewhat similar. I do use a Psychic earlier versus Alakazam, trying to lower its special and to knock it out a little quicker, because I realize power points aren't as big a deal. I've also manipulated my experience points so that I won't level up until after Charizard. But that's not enough. I need to get hit by moves that alter my stats, like Tail Whip, and the only reason that happened, 40% chance of it missing, and then on top of that, only a 25% chance it picks Tail Whip, although I think it also has Leer, so I think it's a 50%, but there's only a 75% chance that the move lands, so what are we talking about, like 15% odds of what just happened? And that's still not enough to outspeed. Next, we're going to do the exact same thing versus Exeggutor and Gyarados. Of course, I miss with Hypnosis, and because of that Tail Whip, I think I've lost, and this has happened before, but I tank it on 5 HP, which really isn't good enough. If Charizard hit me with anything, I would faint, and then unfortunately Gyarados wakes up and it's over, right? Wrong, I get hit with Leer. Now, everything is lined up. As long as I put it to sleep, the battle could be over. I Mimic Hydro Pump, I need that to hit, it wakes up again, I put it back to sleep, I'm getting pretty lucky here. I'm going to go for Mega Drain because I would like to maybe tank a Fire Spin if I can. And thankfully it wakes up on the last possible turn before it can attack me. I'm at 105. I don't level up. I go for Hydro Pump. And after an hour, everything worked in my favor. But this was terrible, guys. Exeggutor sucked. Like, just flat out sucked. I mean, the level looks good. It's a pretty low level. Level 60 is one of the lowest levels we've beaten the game with, other than top tier Pokemon. But that 537 flatters it a great deal. In real time, this took longer than a lot of single stage Pokemon. Exeggutor's strategies, just because of its limited move pool and low speed, is so luck based. I possibly could leveled up a little bit more. The reason I didn't is it wouldn't have mattered. We just weren't going to outspeed things like Charizard or the Aerodactyl, and those are the things, or the Gengars especially. Man, this run really irritated me. And I have no qualms putting Exeggutor. It had the top 5 of base stats of all Pokemon. Well, it's going to be in the bottom 6 for fully evolved Pokemon. Not very good, very disappointing considering how good its stats are. But as I predicted, it just had the worst move pool, slow level up, not a great combination, especially when you don't have high speed. Anyways, guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. I have plenty more videos, both solo runs and some cool new stuff coming out. So if you haven't, I hope you subscribe to the channel. And once again, I want to thank you guys so much for all your support. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all soon. Literally in 2 days. Take care.